What if the universe's greatest horrors weren't trying to kill us, but to control us, reshape us, or simply didn't care enough to preserve our civilization? Across games, films, and speculative fiction, some stories reveal entities so vast and incomprehensible that reality itself begins to unravel. Today we're diving into some of the most unsettling examples of cosmic horror I've ever experienced. If you enjoy the video, leave a like, and don't bother hiding under the blankets. It can still see you. Silt is an indie horror puzzle game that came out in 2021, and it's an incredibly lonely experience. There are no words, almost no music, and very little to comfort you. Instead, you're surrounded by silence, interrupted only by the muffled sounds of the deep ocean. Before you even begin playing, the game greets you with a haunting poem that immediately fills you with dread. In endless depths, Goliaths roam, beneath the waves and crashing foam. Hunt them down, remove their eyes, for this is where their power lies. A great machine lies deep in wait, awaken it to seal your fate. You have no idea what these Goliaths are, why you're hunting them, or what this mysterious machine is. The game refuses to answer any of those questions, rather relying on you to piece things together using the environment. Moments later, you awaken as a lone diver, chained to the ocean floor. There is no explanation for who you are, why you've been imprisoned, or what your purpose is. Like many great works of cosmic horror, Silt throws you into an incomprehensible world and expects you to piece together its mysteries yourself. That uncertainty creates a constant feeling of unease, because every answer only seems to raise more questions. The game doesn't leave you wondering for long about the kind of horrors you'll face though. After breaking free from your chains and slowly navigating the cramped underwater passages, you eventually emerge into open water, only to realise that the place you've just escaped from wasn't a cave or an underwater ruin at all. It was the inside of an enormous, dead leviathan. It's a reveal that's both shocking and deeply unsettling. This is where Silt first embraces cosmic horror. The monsters aren't just dangerous, they're unimaginably vast. Their sheer size makes you feel insignificant, like a tiny speck drifting through an ancient world that couldn't care less whether you survive. Throughout your journey, you'll encounter grotesque sea creatures, possess marine life to solve puzzles, and survive and hunt colossal beings whose eyes hold mysterious power. Yet despite everything you accomplish, the game constantly reminds you that you're nothing more than a fragile diver, exploring a world far older and greater than yourself. The black and white art style only amplifies that feeling. Every environment feels like a forgotten abyss, filled with strange organic machinery, decaying giants, and disturbing life forms that seem completely alien. Combined with the oppressive silence and the lack of any clear narrative, Silt creates an atmosphere where fear comes not from the jump scares, but from the overwhelming realization that you're exploring something ancient, unknowable, and far beyond human understanding. What if humanity's greatest enemy didn't want to destroy us, but reshape us? When most people imagine an alien invasion, they picture cities burning, planets exploding, and humanity fighting desperately to survive. But in all Tommrows, the greatest horror isn't extinction, it's transformation. The Thankyou are among the most disturbing alien species ever imagined. Four-winged and insect-like, with eye stalks, powerful jaws, and a long tail capable of manipulating objects. They appear completely removed from anything humanity understands. But their true horror isn't how they look, it's what they believe. The Thankyou are ancient galactic nomads who regard genetic engineering as a part of a sacred mission. They believe they possess the right, and perhaps even the divine responsibility, to remake life throughout the universe according to their own ideals. To them, an intelligent species is not something to respect. It is material, waiting to be redesigned. By the time humanity encounters the Thankyou, ordinary humans have already been replaced by the Star People, a genetically engineered successor species created by the people of Earth and Mars. The Star People spread across the galaxy, terraforming distant worlds and constructing weapons powerful enough to devastate entire planets. When the Thankyou arrive, a brutal interstellar war begins. Humanity fights back, and at least one colony manages to defeat the invaders twice. On their third attack, however, the Thankyou finally overwhelm them. Humanity loses, and that is when the real nightmare begins. The Thankyou do not completely exterminate the surviving Star People, however. They rewrite them, Across humanity's colonized worlds, survivors are genetically transformed into creatures designed for different environments, and in some cases, created purely as punishment. Some become blind subterranean animals, others are changed into aquatic beings, predators, prey, and enormous grazing creatures. Many are stripped of intelligence, with no understanding that their ancestors once travelled among the stars. Perhaps the cruelest fate belongs to the colonials. Their ancestors resisted the Q with such determination that their conquerors chose to make an example out of them. They were transformed into immobile, brick-like organisms and forced to survive as living filters, feeding upon the waste products of Q civilization. They could still understand what had happened to them, but they could do nothing to escape it. The Q then dominate the galaxy for approximately 40 million years, and eventually, they leave. Not because humanity defeats them, not because they regret what they have done, they simply continue their migration and abandon humanity's altered descendants to whatever future awaits them. Over millions of years, many of these creatures die out. Others evolve, regain intelligence, and construct entirely new civilizations from the ruins of humanity's former worlds. The Q are terrifying because their conquest is more than simple destruction. They consider themselves divinely entitled to decide what every living creature in the universe should become. Humanity's intelligence, history, and achievements mean nothing to beings capable of rewriting entire species as easily as an artist reshapes clay. They do not merely take humanity's planets, they take ownership of the human form itself. And that leaves us with one of the most unsettling ideas in cosmic horror. If a civilization powerful enough can decide what humanity is allowed to become, were we ever truly in control of our own future? What if the greatest type of horror wasn't a monster hiding in the darkness, but the possibility that you've never seen reality as it truly is? That terrifying idea lies at the heart of John Carpenter's They Live. Although the film is usually remembered as a science fiction action satire, complete with aliens, gunfights, and one of cinema's most famously excessive fight scenes, it can also be viewed through the lens of cosmic horror. Because cosmic horror isn't only about enormous creatures, forgotten gods, or complete mystery, it's also about discovering that humanity's understanding of reality is dangerously incomplete, and that forces beyond our control may already be shaping our existence. In They Live, that revelation comes through an ordinary pair of sunglasses when drifter John Nada puts them on and the colourful surface of everyday life disappears. Advertisements become commands. Obey, consume, stay asleep, marry and reproduce. Even the currency carries the message. But the glasses reveal something even more horrifying. Hidden among ordinary people are grotesque, extraterrestrial beings disguised as humans. They occupy positions of wealth and influence, control a major television network, and work alongside human collaborators who have traded humanity's future for personal comfort. The horror isn't merely that aliens have invaded Earth, it's that by the time our main protagonist discovers them, they have already embedded themselves deep within society. There was no dramatic first contact or devastating interplanetary war. Humanity was subdued through distraction, consumerism, and a broadcast signal that prevents people from seeing what is standing directly in front of them. That is where They Live begins to resemble cosmic horror. The film suggests that reality can be manipulated on such a massive scale that an entire population can live inside an illusion without ever knowing it. Your ambitions, desires, and understanding of the world may not truly belong to you. They may have been shaped by a system created to keep you obedient. The sunglasses don't reveal another dimension. They strip away a filter that has been placed over human perception, and once John sees beyond it, he becomes isolated from everyone who still accepts the illusion as reality. However, the film does provide some answers to the aliens' motives. The invaders are exploiting Earth's resources, changing its atmosphere, and cooperating with humans willing to profit from the occupation. But their precise origins, their history, and the full extent of their civilization remain unknown. We never learn how many other worlds they may have controlled, or whether humanity is simply one more species being harvested by an empire operating across the universe. Perhaps the most disturbing part is how little force they actually need to use. Most of humanity isn't imprisoned. People continue working, shopping, and watching television, unaware that their world is being consumed around them. In that sense, They Live isn't simply a story about aliens. It's about the horror of discovering that reality itself has been engineered, and that humanity may never have been as free or as powerful as it believed. Because sometimes the greatest horror isn't learning that monsters exist. It's learning that they've been standing beside you your whole life and you were never supposed to see them.